The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network. This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
Hello, everybody. This is Vince Russo, and welcome to Lions, Tigers, Bears, and Disco. Oy vey. Lions and Tigers and Bears and Disco. Oy vey. That's what they would say. You know, Jeff, remember good old Dorothy? She had the Tin Man, she had the Lion, she had the Scarecrow, she had the little dog Toto. If it was Lions and Tigers and Bears and Disco, they'd be saying Oy vey.
I think you should record a remix.
Listen, you know, Mr. Gilbernetti, you're very smug over there.
Okay, first of all, let's get time out. We're going to get something straight out of the way right off the bat, okay? You keep calling me Mr. Gilbernetti, okay? Hang on. I want somebody here to come and set the record straight.
Well, he's got he's got his defense attorney now.
Excuse me. I'm his mother.
Boy. Yeah, Mrs. Gilbernetti. Hey.
No. You are disrespecting my son by calling him Gilbernetti. His name is Glenn Gilberti. That's Gilbertti. And please, respectfully, do not use that expression on my son again.
Mrs. Gilbernetti, I think you're misinformed. The name is Gilbernetti.
No, it's not.
That's what a ring announcer said many years ago. Why would he butcher it?
I heard that butcher do that to my son's name.
Listen, Mrs. Gilbernetti, now that I have you on the show, can you admit one thing for me? Aside from the fact that you absolutely regret giving birth to
I knew you were going to say that.
But outside of that, can you just set the record straight? Maybe if it comes from Mrs. Gilbernetti, people will believe it.
Okay.
Will you just set the record straight that Glenn Gilbernetti killed WCW? Can you just say that?
Jesus.
Okay, stop that shit. Come here.
No, I'll leave the stand.
All right.
I'm going to take that, Jeff. I am going to take that as a confirmation because she did not say no. Did you know?
She said, of course not.
No,
she said, of
did
course
not say,
yes,
of course not, bro.
Yes, she did, okay?
Bro, you got to brainwash your own mother to be the only one to go to bat for you, bro?
I have to bring my mom on to tell you to stop disrespecting my last name. It's ridiculous. How could you disrespect my mother on your show? That is unbelievable. You were insulting my mom.
Bro,
you're a horrible person.
All I have to say is now the world is a witness. She did not deny that her son did not kill WCW.
She absolutely did. Well,
Glenn, what are you doing in Atlanta, bro? Visiting the parents in Atlanta?
Well, I got a big show in Jersey on Saturday, a big convention in the morning, and then a show on Saturday night, and I couldn't get there in time flying from Vegas in the Saturday morning. So I decided to go ahead and just take a couple days off from work and come back to Atlanta and see my parents, then just to go straight to the show from here, which I got a flight on like 5:50 in the morning on Saturday morning.
Now, Glenn, you were telling me a lot of your old good buddies on this show, bro, huh?
Yeah, big show. A lot of names on this. Rhino, Hall, Nash, Bret Hart. I think Sabu is on this. There's a lot of names on this show. Well, that's the wrestling show on Saturday night. The convention's a typical wrestling convention. It's got tons of guys there. But the PWS show, PWS Syndicate on Saturday night, the Realm Network was this coming Saturday. So, but it's a big show.
Now, Glenn Gilbernetti, you know I have a very
It's Gilberti.
Okay, I have a very fast show here. I'm like with the politicians, and I give everybody equal time. And, I don't listen. Quite frankly, I don't like people talking behind your back. And, bro, all week long, I got to hire a secretary because I've got a line of people now that want to do run-ins.
It's a lie.
No, well, I'm going to tell you about a lie because right before we came on this show, I got a phone call from one Mr. Irish Pat Kenny. People out there may know him as Simon Diamond. And I want to let you know he said this because I don't want you to think this came from me.
Wait, He called you,
Yes.
or you called him?
He called me.
I want to see the phone. I want to see either it says received call or call sent. Okay.
All right, listen, this is a direct quote from Mr. Irish Pat Kenny, and I'm not misquoting. I wrote it down to make sure I wouldn't misquote him. I didn't like the idea of him saying it without you there. So now I'm just going to tell you so you know, so we can get everything out on the table, and I'll give you an opportunity to comment. But the quote from Mr. Simon Diamond was, here's what he said. Tell Disco he's a buffoon. Do you have any comments about that?
That he called you to tell you that?
Yes, because he wanted to come on the show, but he was with a client, so he said, I can't make it this week, so just please tell Glenn for me he's a buffoon.
Okay, so that was it. He called you up to tell you to tell me I'm a buffoon. Why didn't you just call me to tell me I'm a buffoon? He called you to tell, okay?
Because he was going to do the run-in on the show, and then he had a client the last minute.
All right, well, that would make him a buffoon. Or that would actually make you a buffoon for trying to book the guy, and he bailed on you because he had a client. So this whole thing is so comical to begin with, where he called you to tell you that that I'm a buffoon, which actually made you look like a buffoon for trying to book him, and then him telling you he couldn't be on the show.
Bro, you want to talk about this thing being comical? You just put your mother on the air, bro, to go to bat for you, and she didn't even, bro, quite frankly, she didn't even stick up for you. Yes,
she absolutely did. Okay, you insulted my mother, and you're going to get a lot of backlash on this for being such a horrible human being to insult my good mother on this show.
Jeff, what's the news?
Well, starting off with some sad news, unfortunately, as we have a few times. Kimbo Slice, MMA star, passed away at a very young age of 42 this week. And at the time of this recording, there hasn't been a definite reason why, but the consensus is they think it's probably due to heart failure because he was waiting for a heart transplant. So, sad story there.
Glenn, did you know Kimbo at all?
Never met him. I only saw a couple of his fights. I watched a couple of his fights on YouTube when he was the backyard brawler guy, and then I watched a couple of his fights. I didn't watch him on I wasn't really not that I wasn't a fan of his. I just didn't see a lot of his stuff, you know.
Yeah, I saw a couple of his fights like you, Glenn. I thought he was bro, he had a gimmick in MMA. So, I love that. The guy stood out. The guy had a unique look. The guy had a gimmick. The guy liked to talk. So I was a fan of his. And, at 42 years old, man, that's a shame.
Plus, he was a big local, like a big celebrity in Miami. You know where he's from. Like in Miami, he was a really big deal. You know, like Jerry Lawler in Memphis. Like from what I understand, in Miami, Kimbo was like a really big thing for the locals in Miami.
Yeah, Glenn, you never talk about this much. Would you consider yourself a big MMA guy?
I watch all the big fights. Yeah, I'm a fan of the. I'm a fan of I've always been a big fight guy. I've always liked any big boxing match, any big UFC fights. I don't watch The Ultimate Fighter. I don't when fight time is coming up, if they announce a card or if a UFC fight is coming up, I'll look over the card. I'll examine it. I got a friend of mine that is really into the MMA and really into the handicapping side of it. He does really well. I'll call him up sometimes if I think there's like a pick I like. Bro, I bet on Michael Bisping. I bet on Michael Bisping against Luke Rockhold as a 7-1 underdog. So that was like I'll do that. Like if there's a big spot, like if they go to
But that leads me to ask the question, and this is a legitimate question, bro. I'm not busting your onions, bro. You're in the heart of Vegas, and you were always a gambling guy. You always enjoyed betting on sports and stuff. Is that why you're into it, or do you actually like the MMA fighting?
No, God, I like the fighting. Okay. I like the guys that can talk. I like the guys that can promote fights. I like the guys that you can tell are wrestling fans because they use the professional wrestling style to promote their fight. I'm not a fan of the boring guys. I'm a fan of the characters, the over the top. The guys that can talk, the guys that make news. Who isn't a fan of that? Do you not watch MMA?
Bro, I'm not I'm not.
How could you not be a fan of? How
bro.
Could you be a professional wrestling fan and not be a fan of Conor McGregor?
Bro, well, I'll tell you why, bro. Because here's the thing with me and UFC. It's either really good or really bad. And a lot of times when I turn it on, bro, it's guys laying on top of each other for 3 minutes.
Yeah, but you don't watch like you were on Chael Sonnen's show, right? Chael Sonnen's show. Yeah, bro, he was one of the most entertaining guys there was.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know, bro, but it's not that way across the board.
No, it isn't. It isn't. But that's I'm interested I'm interested in Sonnen. I'm interested in Bisping. He can talk. McGregor. Those guys entertain me.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that now, Jeff, you segued Glenn right into the next story. So, what's the topic? And I want to hear Glenn's. Thoughts on this first.
Well, this is the big news of the week. Obviously, it's what everybody's talking about. Brock Lesnar's returning for one fight to UFC for UFC 200. He's still under WWE contract. He'll be fighting Mark Hunt at UFC 200. I'm just interested in what you guys feel about this as far as the difference between what this does for UFC and what this does for the WWE.
Hey, Glenn, being in Vegas, right, you're right there in the heart of Vegas. Bro, were you hearing any scuttlebutt about this, or did this come out? Oh, you are hearing about it.
Oh, yeah, no, there's a lot of buzz in Vegas. Bro, I know let me tell you something. And the neighborhood I live in, this is a story, it's kind of relevant, right? So I live in Southern Highlands, which is a very nice area in Las Vegas. Okay, Vegas has a lot of nice areas, but this is the neighborhood that Floyd Mayweather lives in. Okay, and basically what Southern Highlands is there's you get off the highway, you take a straight right on Silverado Ranch Road, and you go down about a mile, and you take a left on Decatur, and Decatur turns into Southern Highland Parkway. And so from that turn up through, you go straight through, and it kind of goes straight up the hill from that turn for about 2 miles, two and a half mile stretch. On each side of the road is just nice neighborhood after nice neighborhood after nice neighborhood. But there's all Southern Highlands has for like a shopping center is at the corner of Decatur and Cactus, which is the first intersection you come at in Southern Highlands. There's a Smith's. There's some restaurants. It's a big shopping area, but it's like the only one. There's a little strip mall down the street, but there's a couple restaurants there, and there's not a lot of restaurants in Southern Highlands because it's weird. You have to go farther away to go eat at some places. But a lot of MMA fighters live in Southern Highlands. Boxers, retired professional athletes. It's a kind of like when you go to the grocery store, you see a lot of these guys, right? I went to the place I ate the other day. I'm sitting there. It's called Zest, I believe this place is called. It used to be called Off the Strip. I go there to eat. The other day, I sit at the other end of the bar. Right, there's a place about 7 or 8 people in there eating. Is Randy Couture with a young lady, right? And I don't really say nothing, but I have to introduce myself to the guy, right? So just hey, Randy Couture, professional. Oh yeah, hey, so we'd share a pretty basic, cordial conversation. Mm-hmm. But the one thing is funny because I asked him. He was getting ready to leave. I go, bro, I gotta ask you something. I'm like, since you've been out of the MMA, I go, do you still watch it because you feel like you have to watch it, or do you still watch it because you're a fan? He goes, dude. He goes, the only people I still watch are my friends. He goes, I don't watch it. I'm not, And that, bro, Randy Couture is like an MMA legend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and but you'll. King Mo, his wife was not his baby mama at the time, was a waitress at one of the nice little Italian mom and pop joint there. So King Mo would be out there hanging out with this kid, stuff and everything. I talked to King Mo. King Mo hangs, super cool guy. We exchange numbers and stuff and everything. But you see a lot of MMA guys in the area that I'm in because a lot of them live there. So back on point to Brock Lesnar, what does this mean in town? Bro, let me tell you something. The MMA community are not fans of Brock Lesnar. Okay, you talk to people that are in MMA, that have done MMA. A lot of guys at work train MMA. They don't like Brock. They think he's very, very disrespectful. Is
that because he left, Glenn? Pretty much.
No, because he was very disrespectful in victory a few times. When he beat from the old days when he beat Frank Mir. These guys, guys that have fought in UFC, the minor card guys, but you probably wouldn't know them, but these guys I know. I know a lot of these guys, right? That they can't stand him. I think he's very disrespectful to, So what does this do for, this card? There's an obvious buzz, and bro, it just puts an exclamation point on what I don't see. You don't follow UFC, but I'm sure Jeff does. He'll know what I'm talking about, bro. Conor McGregor was so on point when he said, bro, that UFC 200 card is nothing without me. Okay, they could not go forward with just what was it, John Jones versus Daniel Cormier as their main event. Okay, it was supposed to be Nate Diaz versus the rematch against McGregor. They needed another fight. They needed to make more money. They needed another draw. Without Conor McGregor on the card, they were not going to make what they thought they were going to make. And I guess they threw Brock, a lot of money, and supposedly, bro, this is unbelievable. This is how shady the UFC is sometimes, bro. They gave him a USADA drug exemption for this fight, which means basically.
What does that mean?
They've been really proactive in trying to clean the sport up from steroids.
Right.
Okay? But basically what they're saying to Brock Lesnar is they kind of made it a loophole for him. Maybe he told them, hey, I've been taking some stuff, so that back that might show up and like this. So that basically it's like they're not giving him the strict testing. They're giving him the old school testing for this fight, okay? Because they say there's a loophole since he's been gone for so long. It's been like 5 years. He's kind of being treated as a pre-existing fighter, pre-existing. I don't know what it was, but Mark Hunt, his opponent, basically just said he's just juiced to the gills. This is ridiculous that you guys are not testing him USADA style and everything. But I'm not using that as an excuse because I'm going to knock him out anyway. I thought that was a pretty good, the written promo by Mark Hunt that he just cut on Brock Lesnar. I thought was tremendous.
But
I got it here if you want me to read it.
But isn't he burying UFC in the process, Glenn?
Who, Mark Hunt? Bro, all these UFC fighters bury it. Nate Diaz, before the McGregor fight, basically said everybody in the UFC is on steroids, except for me and my brother. It's like everybody's on steroids. He said that. That's that Dana White doesn't care. Dana White knows stuff like that gets people talking. Right, and when people talk, they become interested. And when they become interested, it gets other people interested. And you get that discussion, bro. The drug suspension or the drug testing will be all over all the ESPN talking head shows. Yeah. They'll be talking. It's just promotion for his fight. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't care. It's fighting. Yeah. This is two grown men get in a cage, savagely beating each other, to trying to death, with the exception of the referee being there to stop it at the proper time. It is what it is. Yeah. So, I mean. So it's kind of always been looked at. Dana White's look. This is what it is. We're promoting fights.
Yeah.
So
Jeff, what were the exact comments from Mark Hunt?
Yeah. Well, the reason they're giving is because Brock's last fight was in 2011, long before this anti-doping policy went into effect. They're treating him similar to a new athlete coming into the organization, which I guess gives him an exemption, which Glenn was talking about. And Hunt said, he told Fox Sports that I don't think that's fair. I think it's a load of BS. I think it's rubbish. I don't think anyone should be exempt from testing. If they're trying to clean the sport up, mixed martial arts, this is a bad way to do it. I don't care who you are. It's ridiculous. I don't think it's a great move. I think he's juiced to the gills, and I still think I'm going to knock him out. So I don't think that's correct. I don't think he should be allowed to get a 4-month exemption. Otherwise everyone else should. Otherwise I should start juicing. How are you going to clean the sport up doing that stuff? It won't happen. I don't think it's fair. I've already voiced my opinion to Dana about it, but apparently Lesnar has been getting tested, but he's probably been off a couple of cycles anyway. So,
Glenn, what are the chances of this Mark Hunt? How do you see this fight going, bro?
I think he's going to knock him out.
Really?
He's favored.
No, he is favored now? They opened Brock up. Let me tell you something. They opened Brock up as a 2-1 favorite, and the money just everybody and their mother bet on Hunt. If Hunt's favored now, the books had a massive we call a market correction when they put the wrong line out, and so many people bet so much money on the wrong line that they probably had to flip-flop the line. So yeah, Hunt's 42 years old. That's but Brock, bro, he's been out of competition for 5 years. I mean, that's a bad. Go watch some videos of that Mark Hunt. He's knocked out guys that have never been knocked out. He knocked out Roy Nelson, who never ever has been dropped. He knocked the guy out. So it's he's a tough cookie, man. And I think it's a bad. It could end very badly for the WWE if the finish of this fight is Brock Lesnar getting knocked out, and then you're having to take that guy and promote him for SummerSlam. So that it's, I don't know. It's just it could end bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, as of 2 days ago, Hunt minus 200, Lesnar plus 160.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Hey,
crazy.
Glenn, is there? I hear what you're saying, about, bro. Yeah, if Lesnar gets knocked out and tarnished, and now they want him to headline WrestleMania, bro, is there any positive whatsoever in this for the WWE?
No. Well, bro, so one of their fighters is fighting real, making another. Vince is probably getting. I mean, he's got to be getting a cut of this. The only positive thing coming out of this is probably Vince McMahon is getting a piece of this, or what I'm hearing the rumors is that there might be a talent exchange. You got Ronda Rousey, who's probably not ready to fight again, but probably would not be, against doing a spot and performing in SummerSlam, for them. I mean that's I don't know. The only positive could be if they're using Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, well, but the bloom's off that rose, Glenn, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I always think if they used Conor McGregor, it would be like the only proper exchange they could make if he came in and did something, I mean, but because he can talk. The guy's a fantastic talker. I'd love to see him in a ring cutting promos with somebody,
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next story because I want to really get in Glenn's head for a minute about this one, Jeff. Get into the next one.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. Well, I don't know. It looks like. Wait, hold the phone. It looks like I was right about them lining up to want to bury your good name because joining us now. When you talk about true legends, Mr. Gilbernetti, this is a true legend of the game who doesn't make a lot of appearances. That's how big he is. But when he heard that you're coming on this show spewing whatever it is that you're spewing, he said, Vince, let me come on the show to straighten out Glenn Gilbernetti. And I'm talking about above average Mike Sanders has joined us. Mr. Sanders, how are you doing, my friend?
I know. I was driving a Lincoln way before they paid me to drive a Lincoln. You see, I had Hacksaw Jim Duggan at the house earlier, and he left his board here. But anyway.
Now, Mike, listen, I hate to shovel the dirt, Mike. But, Mike, can you tell us the story? Mike, about a year or so ago, I believe I was the one who came up with the great idea for you and Glenn Gilbernetti to do your own podcast. Would you care to give us a little bit of that story, Mr. Sanders?
Yeah, Vince, kudos to you because you're a genius.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying.
And I'm not talking raving genius. I'm talking just a plain damn genius.
Yeah.
When it comes to marketing and I mean, you got Bubba Ray on, Bubba Ray. You got. I don't know. So about a year or so ago, you literally came up with this idea for me and Glenn to do hot news.
Hot news, yeah. Which, by the way, was his idea with the hot news, right? That was his. Let's give him credit for that.
Let's give Glenn credit. He's had some good ideas. Most of them we have been fired and released with no chance in hell of ever coming back. Let me ask you a question. Do this. Give me one idea that Glenn came up with that's still in the business today making money.
The Martian invasion. No. Go ahead, Glenn. Well, go ahead. Answer that question, bro.
I'll answer this like with the snap of a finger. It was my idea. The whole push of Lance Storm was my idea. Okay, we gave all the belts and everything. That was like don't try to deny this. On a weekly basis, I was coming up with most of the stuff for Lance Storm's character in WCW.
But
go ahead, Mr. Sanders.
Lance Storm isn't on TV today. Like me, Chuck Palumbo, Reno, all the main. Listen, Glenn, name one guy that's still in the WWE, not TNA, in the WWE, that you personally had a hand, I don't mean hand, a hand in his success.
Go ahead, hero.
Mark Jindrak is a big star in Mexico right now.
And WWE. Name me one guy.
Oh, you guys are all old. I mean, they're not using 40-year-old guys and they're 45-year-old guys on the show anymore. You guys got old. Of course you're not on TV anymore. You know who? I mean, like, you know, I can't. You know, I dragged
I'm
Vince.
surprised.
You know, if I would have known how ungrateful these guys would have been, you know, I went down to the power plant. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
And I basically saw these guys. Okay, and I said, look, Vince, you know, just put these guys on TV. You know, I mean, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. You know, but this is all we got.
Mr.
Okay,
Sanders,
they look good. You know, they look good. They work out. You know, let's put them on TV. Have them follow my instructions.
Mr.
You know,
Sanders.
let them follow my instructions and my guidance, and we'll get some TV out of these guys. And then the natural born thrillers are born. So,
Mr.
you know,
Sanders, the floor is yours, Mr. Sanders.
So, Glenn, in all honesty, right? When you're talking about young guys coming through, there was a young guy that came through that I don't think you even gave him the time of day. And now he's a main eventer in the WWE. I think you even said he was kind of imitating Billy Kidman in the day.
The WWE main eventer? That came through the power plant? Who was that?
No. Didn't come through the power plant.
AJ?
There you go.
Oh, AJ Styles, yeah. No, but we always thought AJ was talented. He wasn't. AJ didn't go through the power plant.
Listen,
Remember, AJ was an indie guy. Remember? AJ was an indie guy. It was him and Eric Paris.
You
He was for the.
like a young Billy Kidman.
Yeah. Yeah. And
He was imitating Billy Kidman at the time.
First of all, Glenn, let me set one thing straight, please. When you speak, don't say we. Don't ball me in with you. Don't say there is no we. There's a you and a me. There's no we. Mr. Sanders, let's get back to the talk show that he totally dropped the ball on.
Jeez, Paul.
So, Glenn, you and I had this amazing opportunity, right? Like, literally. And the only reason I say that is because I've watched Vince Russo himself go from Pyro and Ballyhoo to letting that go to the Realm Network.
Big hitter, big star. Yeah.
No. And in this, he reached out to us and he was like, look, man, there's this opportunity. And whether or not it was, and yeah, I know you and I never saw a dime, but.
Well, I mean, bro, that's
besides the point. Go ahead, Mr.
No. That's not. No, Vince. That's not besides the point because Mike has let the cat out of the bag.
Mr. Sanders, please finish.
The reason, no. Mike is not going to finish this because he already just said the most important thing is that you could not figure out how we were supposed to be paid to do that, okay? You brought Mike Sanders on here to talk about how I dropped the ball in the Hot News podcast, and thereby you have made yourself, Vince, for the second time tonight, look like a quote-unquote buffoon because it is that the reason this thing failed was because you had no clue what was going on, okay?
Glenn, here's the great thing is that being a friend of Vince Russo's, I wasn't in it for the money.
Yeah, because you're a true friend, right, Mike?
But how about all the times you were supposed to do it? You go, oh, wait a minute, I got an acting gig. I'm gonna be
Mike,
be the new Iron Man movie.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Hang on.
Wait, Mike, hold on.
I got a acting. What do you call those? You go on a reading. No. Whatever. It's like, come on, give me a break.
Do you know how many times I would try to set up to do our Hot News podcast?
Yep.
And because he had to get his gambling, his gambling
No,
wage
what you're trying to see, this
on
is,
the Falcons, or unless there's a Falcons game, can we push this thing to 9 o'clock?
Exactly.
My bookie
No.
is calling me.
No, that's not.
The Falcons weren't even
No.
at the time.
No.
Hey,
No,
Mr. Sanders, wait, hold on. Let me ask Mr. Sanders a question. Now, Mr. Sanders, you just made the comment that you weren't in it for the money.
No, never have been.
Okay, you never been in this for the money, right?
Right.
What about the scheme? The scheme you and I had driving these bozos to and from Nashville to Atlanta. What about that, Mr. Sanders? That I believe was your idea.
Hold on. At that point, I kind of was in it for the money because we were using my mom's caravan at the time.
There you go. All right, good reason.
And this shows the type of reputable character he is. And he was telling us it was a rental. Okay? And we were having to pay the guy for the rental car. All right? So this is the type of character you brought to try to discredit my good name on your show, Vince. All right? And we didn't know that at the time. He told this story at a later date.
You got to admit. So like the first week or two we were going to TNA, I was actually going to Enterprise and getting a rental van. And this is the best part of the whole situation. I was getting a rental van, and we were all pitching in for the rental van. And then I realized my mom had this green Dodge Caravan. So the best part is that when we actually were going to Nashville, and Glenn, I don't know if you were there, but I remember Raven, like, pulling toys out of the back of it and just being like, I think somebody left something in the rental van, like grandchildren's toys. Like, I think somebody left it. And then Vincent just looking at me like, when are you going to tell him? I'm like, I'm not going to tell him.
Toys and comic books. Toys and comic books. Okay, it would be left in the van.
Hey, listen, Mike. Listen, we were all there at the waning days of WCW. I mean, Mike, can we just all agree on once and for all that Glenn had a huge hand in killing that company, please?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And here's the bad part about it. Like, it sucks when you have a huge hand in killing of the company and everybody else gets bumped to big money and you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? It's like, but listen, I do have to listen. If it wasn't for Glenn Gilberti,
that's Gilbernetti. I mean, Gilbernetti, Mike.
Glenn, let me ask something. Glenn, are you actually in Atlanta?
Yeah, I am in Atlanta. Yeah, want to do lunch tomorrow?
Yeah, so you weren't even going to look him up, you bum.
No, I'm busy. I'm here for a short amount of time. I'm here for a few days hanging out with my parents. I don't really have a lot of time on my hands.
You just found time right now for lunch tomorrow. So what are you talking about?
I'm just saying, I just realized because of the stuff I've done so far with the work in the yard and everything, I might have time to go do some lunch tomorrow. Because I got a flight at 5:50 in the morning on Saturday morning. I don't have a lot of time.
Glenn, here's the deal. If I have some time tomorrow, I'd love to, but I actually have a gig that I booked. One of those film things.
Sure, of course he does. Yeah, it's like the new. He's got to film his last scene where he's the main heel in the new Jason Bourne movie, right? So, yeah, I'm good. Like, so him and Matt Damon have to go reshoot a scene tomorrow, Vince, right?
Bro, Mike's a big star, bro. Don't tarnish his good name.
All jokes aside, I did this book a deal in Charlotte. No, listen. I mean, I'd love to get together with you, but if I can't, I can't.
He's busy, Glenn. What do you think? He's like you.
Whatever. It's just because I'm free. I got some time tomorrow. I got to go to chiropractic appointment, then I'm free all day.
What time?
12:15 till like 1 o'clock. Then I'm done.
Who's buying?
What, for the lunch?
Yeah, for the lunch.
Sanders. He's all these movies. He's got gigs. You hear him? He's got a big gig tomorrow. He's got the new Iron Man movie, the Avengers, the Superman. The next thing, Superman versus Sanders. The next big movie coming out. You should have seen for, right? I mean, come on. What are you kidding me?
Mike. This is totally unnecessary.
You know why I don't let. You know why I don't let Glenn pay when he's in town?
Why's that, Mike?
Because it's embarrassing when the maitre d' at a strip club is like shelling out $1 bills to pay for a free show.
Hey, when we meet with
like
the
when the
timeout,
listen,
in all honesty,
when the restroom attendant at the strip club, is spraying on the Dracar cologne and the polo, he's selling out the $1 bills.
right.
Gilberti,
Hey, last
we were
time-
money. Listen, Glenn, we were money on hot news, and
Yep.
say something. You messed it up.
You messed it up.
No.
Admit it.
So time out. I did not mess it up. You know why that thing went down the tubes? Because him and Cash couldn't figure out how to square the money away. They had no clue what was going on. And you and
Hang on.
and you had a lot of gigs. And no, let's be honest. Wait, time out, Mike. Time out. Let's be perfectly honest here, Mr. Russo. Okay, Vince would call us. Okay, the two of us who have careers and jobs and work for a living would call us and say, "Hey, you guys are supposed to do this thing at 2 o'clock on Monday. I have never missed a day doing my podcast." We're like, "Yeah, Vince, because you don't work for a living. We do." So, the reason that thing went down the tubes is because you wanted us to be on a regimented schedule, and we couldn't do it.
Glenn, I can't complain because Vince sent me 3 checks.
Yeah. And Mike,
Did he really?
Mike, can I
He
tell
really
you
said
something?
you wait, time out. You sent him some money?
Mike, can I tell you something? I'm very interested in this Superman versus Sanders. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Well,
That's
they just finished
money.
filming.
That's money, bro.
They just finished filming Batman versus Sanders, and Sanders, of course, went over. So now they're shooting Superman versus Sanders. He's got that gig tomorrow.
I hear there's a big shooting of Joey Ryan versus Disco, and you jobbed to the penis. So
Well, he jobbed to Jacqueline, so what's the difference? You know what I'm saying, Mike? I mean, not for nothing, Mike.
not for
See, you guys try to come out here and discredit my good name, and then it just doesn't work. Always backfires. Always backfires.
Well, Mr. Sanders, I want to thank you for doing the run-in tonight and setting the story straight with the no-good Glenn Gilbernetti. Thank you very much for exposing him for the louse he really is.
Can I ask you something, and I'll get off it, but is Glenn still doing MLW? Has he still got heat over there? Or is he
Oh, he's got heat everywhere, bro. Everywhere. Everybody's trying to get him off their podcast, including me.
Listen, thanks, guys, for having me on. Glenn, call me if you want to have lunch tomorrow. I'm not buying, but we can definitely have some food. But I do, listen, I don't have a lot of time because I do got to go shoot in Charlotte on Saturday.
All right. And the great above average Mike Sanders, everybody. And look for Superman versus Sanders at a theater near you. All right. You see, Glenn, they come out of the woodwork. They come out of the woodwork, bro, because you're a louse. You're a louse, bro.
I think that's kind of a. I think what you do to me on this show, for what I bring to the show, is very disrespectful, and the fact that you insulted my mother and called her names. I think your true colors are being shown, and then I think that there's going to be a lot of backlash over this.
Well, Jeff, I gotta be honest with you though.
I bury Conan.
Can you bury Conan?
Yeah, I want to bury Conan on the show. I'm tired. I want to bury Conan.
Let's do this next. I want to do this next topic. You know why, Glenn? Because I'm really interested to see what you have to say about this. No kidding around. As a shoot. Because I want to have a little conversation with you about this. This is where we can really give the people listening some insight. Go ahead, Jeff.
For those unaware, this was last fall, early fall, September, I believe. Bret Hart had given an interview to Sports Illustrated about when John Cena broke his nose in the match with Seth Rollins. And what Bret Hart said in that interview was that the knee to the face that Rollins gave Cena was unprofessional at best. He said he was reckless. I'm just paraphrasing here because there's a lot to read when we get into the other things. And it's totally reckless was his exact words. Rollins was on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho, and what Rollins said was, when Jericho asked him about Bret Hart's comments, he said, that was really bad. Dude, he looked gnarly, and he's talking about Cena here. I felt so bad. It was just a knee. We were trading shots, and I threw a high knee just for some separation so we could get to whatever the next thing we were doing was. And for whatever reason, look, John will be the first guy to admit he's a clumsy fella. He's not a graceful individual. When he's not sure about stuff for his own protection, a lot of times he'll put his body into whatever you're doing. When you're throwing punches at him or forearms, he leans a little bit. I have all the respect in the world for this guy, but this one hurt my feelings more than anything was Bret Hart. Bret Hart had some comments about me and how safe I am in the ring because of breaking Cena's nose, and then me getting hurt while I was the champion. And he just said you couldn't do that because people relied on you as a top guy. And that hurt my feelings. And I haven't seen Bret since then. I know he comes from a different era where he worked through a lot of stuff, but man, that sucked. That hurt my feelings. I idolized you. You were one of the guys who, at 6'1", 230, you were a guy who I was like, hey, I can do that because Bret Hart does it. For him to, I mean, he's got to know how hard I'm working every night. For him to say that in an interview, I was like, man, that sucks. So thoughts on that, guys, and then Bret Hart has replied since then, and we'll get into that next.
But you got to read the Bret. Everybody knows about all this.
Yeah, read the Bret stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
The Bret reply. Read the Bret reply.
Okay, all right. I just didn't want to get too much information out there at once. Okay, so Bret Hart replying to that, and he said, I am a really big fan of Seth's. I think he's one of the best young wrestlers in the world today. That's why I think I made such a strong criticism. It's meant to make him think. It's not a personal attack. It's a professional criticism of his work a few months ago. I think there's a little bit of honest here not to own up to what he did. You can watch it back. I watched it back just a minute ago. He clearly knees John Cena as hard as he can in the face. It's not John Cena's fault. If you watch it, it's not John Cena leaning in. It's Seth Rollins pulling his head down and kneeing him as hard as he can in the face. It's BS. Everything I said is true. If he's got hurt feelings, well, it's better to have hurt feelings than a broken, shattered face. My whole gripe with that kind of stuff is that you can't get injured. The wrestler can't afford getting hurt. There's a huge onus on the two wrestlers to protect each other at all costs. If you can't protect the guy you were working with, if you can't be more careful than that, then you need to go back to the drawing board. It's a good criticism. All of those agents in WWE, I don't know who they are that are schooling these guys and telling them what they are doing right and what they are doing wrong. They should all be chastised for not speaking up too, including Vince, including Triple H. What he did was totally wrong, totally unprofessional. It's true, and it's not a personal attack. It just means be more careful. You can't be hurting guys like that all the time.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I mean, is there anything that Bret Hart said that is just not 100% accurate?
Yeah, I mean, Glenn, I'm not a worker, okay? I'm not a worker, but, bro, I would have to think a high knee to the face, that has to be one of the most controlled moves you can possibly deliver, correct?
Bro, let me go a sidebar here. I'm going to go off on this, all right? And this is because it speaks of a lot, okay? Seth Rollins is, has said in the past, and I the funniest thing is I wanted to try to find the quotes that he maybe had Twitter quotes about this or stuff, but he blocked me on Twitter. I have no idea why. I don't think we've ever had a Twitter exchange in my life. I think he found my Twitter handle or something, maybe read something I said, and actually has blocked me on Twitter, which I find tremendously entertaining because maybe it was during that time when they were arguing with Dana White over wrestling was fake when I was speaking up. Maybe they blocked me on Twitter for that. But let me tell you something. He's made a point that their style of today is based more on athleticism, okay? That they're more athletic, that the moves that they do well. Then the point I'm trying to make is, like you said, if you want to base it more on athleticism instead of quote unquote working, stuff like this is bound to happen. Okay, when you are doing high risk athletic moves, the reason they call them high risk is because there is a higher risk of injuring. Bro, when I listened to that podcast, I was listening to it. When I heard him talking about how Cena was clumsy, and I couldn't believe he was going there. This is a guy that's a champion, okay? And so as opposed to like a guy that would be the face of the company, before he got hurt, he had the belt. So I'm like, not being. I want to use the word arrogance. That's a very arrogant attitude he's taking. By not owning up to what he did and trying to kind of make excuses when basically they've been parading this style of athleticism and being more athletic and stuff and everything, and they've been talking about how this is the evolution of professional wrestling. Bro, he broke the guy's face. You know,
Glenn,
I've never seen something anything like that.
Glenn, you know what's interesting to me? You use the word arrogance. To me, Glenn, this is the bigger problem, and I'll tell you why. Bret Hart brought it up about the agents. Bret Hart, mentioned the agents. Now, I got to tell you something. Glenn, be honest with me. Back in the day, say you're having a match with Goldberg. You deliver the same move, bro. You break Goldberg's face. When you get in the back, back at WCW, bro, late 1996, 1997, the late 90s, what is an agent going to say to you at that point?
Well, if I would have gotten sent, the boys would have basically said, "You got to send that guy home. He's unsafe. You can't. You can't. I'm not working with that guy. He's unsafe."
And
that is what would have happened. The agents would have yelled at me. Goldberg probably would have tried to kill me. Okay.
Right. And you know what? Though,
everybody would have agreed that I didn't know what I was doing and I screwed up.
And that's the point, bro. In order for Rollins to have made those comments, there was nobody in a position of management that basically said that to him. Because if somebody would have chewed him out for doing that, he would not have made those comments to Chris Jericho. So I'm sitting here wondering, okay, you just broke John Cena's face. Do you go in the back and is the agent saying, "Oh, it's okay, Seth, it was an accident"?
You tell me, man. I don't know. But I thought the comments to me were unbelievable. Like I said, man, I call it like I see it because I've been an agent. I've done this. I've been in booking. I've been in behind the curtain. I've been one of the guys. I've been office. That attitude. If I was in charge, okay, or I was in a position of authority, and that was the guy's attitude that he had come back and told me that that's John's fault. He leaned in and stuff. First of all, I go, Cena, did you lean into that? I go, it looked like he needed, and then I'd watch the replay. I'd be like, dude, you'd literally probably like maybe find the guy and send him home. I mean, I've never seen an injury where a guy so reckless just went and just like, bro, he crushed his face. You could have like there was a situation in an indie show I think a while back, and he felt terrible about it where I think Sonny Siaki did a moonsault off the top rope, and he needed Alan Funk in the face.
Oh, yeah,
and it broke it. Yeah. And it's like, bro, Sonny felt terrible about it. Sonny knows it was his fault. Everybody's like, but a lot of people are like, wow, they think Sonny Siaki's unsafe. I had no problem working with him and stuff, but like, when something like that happens, that's the immediate reaction. I don't know if there's any reaction from this. I mean, like you said, the fact that he like is blaming John Cena. Bro, I think it's crazy, man. I
wonder how Cena feels reading those comments.
I do too. I would love to hear comments from John Cena on that he's clumsy and that he leans in when he's unsure about things. I can't wait for somebody to ask him that. I mean, he does a lot of media.
Yeah.
I hope somebody asks him that. And maybe, bro, let me tell you something. And I was just thinking about this. This would actually be great stuff if Seth Rollins is working this into a shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like if he basically says, if Seth Rollins and John Cena can get some, can spin some legit heat out of this to the next time they work each other. Maybe, but I didn't get that from him.
You and I both know they're not smart enough to do that.
Right.
What's next, Jeff?
Well, I just had a few more things on Rollins I wanted to ask you guys because, like, I'm looking at this and I agree with Glenn. I'm getting the impression it's kind of an arrogant comment from Rollins. Like, I feel like today, and you see it with Vader, a lot of these guys, they expect all the legends to just tell them how awesome they are. And if they're ever criticized, they kind of turn into babies. Oh, my feelings are hurt. Oh, well, you're bitter. I mean, it's just like they don't show the respect to the veterans that I think they need to. And so I want your thoughts on that. And also, I don't know if Bret Hart had thoughts on when Sting got injured, but to me, it felt like there was a kind of a push to make this seem like it wasn't Rollins' fault. Even Sting was coming out saying that it was his fault.
I remember sitting back, Glenn, watching that Sting match. And, bro, I was saying, and listen, I had to take it with a grain of salt because I consider, Steve a friend. So I was taking it personally. But, bro, I was sitting there horrified because what I was seeing was you're throwing a 55-year-old man around that ring like a rag doll.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is not your age. This guy, this guy is 55, bro.
Yeah.
I remember, and bro, this is before he got hurt. This is before any of it. And but bro, nobody ever said anything about that. That kind of went and left.
I did. I forgot about that. I think that's why he blocked me on Twitter.
There you
After
go.
that, no, you know what's funny? Because I tweeted out after that. I go, if you lay out a match. I tweet, if you lay out a match where a 55-year-old man gets hurt, that's your fault. You need to learn how to work.
Yeah, that was
And it's true. And that's true. If you lay out a match where a 55-year-old man isn't protected the entire time, and like if you lay out the match and a 55-year-old guy gets hurt, I mean, whose fault is that? The 55-year-old man?
But Glenn, let me ask. Glenn, hold on now. Let me put myself in Rollins' shoes or the wrestler's shoes for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn, you and I both know Sting, Steve. We both know him, bro. This is his first time at the WWE. Bro, the guy is gonna stand there and say, "I'll do whatever you want." You know that's what he's gonna say. You know it. Now with giving Seth the benefit of the doubt, bro, aren't 99% of the wrestlers going to take advantage of Sting saying that to get themselves over? Wouldn't the majority of the wrestlers put themselves before Sting?
No, not maybe 99% of the guys these days, but nobody back when we were working.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even consider that. Laying a match out like stuff like that. I would just do basic wrestling with the guy, punching, kicking him, selling stuff, to protect the guy. I wouldn't do these high risk spots and stuff and everything and all that. You know what I mean? But bro, that's like I said. The times have changed. The wrestling today, like by his own words, is more athletic. So okay. But like I said, with more athleticism, what happens? More injuries. The more real you do it, the more people get hurt, which is what happens in the WWE.
Glenn, that's my thing. Listen to me for a second. Bro, this may sound crazy, but we're getting closer and closer and closer to this. These guys are saying it's athletic, it's athletic, it's athletic. Obviously, they're not working for a couple of reasons. Guys are getting hurt, and true wrestling fans are not believing the work. We don't believe the fight. We don't believe somebody's trying to win. So the fact that they think they're great athletes and they're evolving the sport and it's athleticism and nobody's working and people are getting hurt, you know what I say, bro? Then go out there and have a real fight.
Right, exactly. Bro, like I said, if you, by their own word, by the way they're doing this, you could take a mathematical simplistic equation to risk plus reward equals X amount of dollars. And the numbers, if you showed them the equation and how much they're making and what they're doing and how many people are watching, they'd look foolish. They would look really foolish employing the formula that they're using today because they're not making as much as they could be, because not as many people are watching what they're doing, and they're still risking themselves, doing high injury risk, causing them to miss work. Like the equation is so simple, and it makes them look foolish. It makes them look like when they try to argue this with me, I'm like saying I think I'm the only one using any common sense. It's like I'm arguing with people that have no common sense or are not using logic in their arguments. I'm using all the logic and the common sense. So if they want to argue with wrestling's got more leather, it's evolved. It's like, guys are getting hurt and not as many people are watching. So let's define evolve. Well, but you know where wrestling's evolved from? Let me tell you something. Wrestling, the human being evolved from the ape, okay? The ape, the gorilla, the Cro-Magnon, okay? That was the evolution of the human being. The wrestling today is like the evolution of like what you would see from like an octopus into a cow. It's like there's no connective thing of what they're doing. Like you can't marry like the stuff that we used to do and say that it evolved to this because what they've done is they've forgotten the most important part, treating the moves like they're supposed to hurt. And you're supposed to have injury when people do this to you, and the move is devastating, and you're showing pain, and they've taken that out. All they've done is just evolved and changed and added a bunch of moves, which is it's not evolution. You're talking two different animals. Yeah. You know,
you're right, Glenn. Because Glenn, you know me, bro. I'm the biggest baseball mark in the world. You know, bro. They add the instant replay. All right, now we've accepted the instant replay as part of the game. They didn't come out and say, okay, we're going to add another base. We're going to take away the outfield wall, and everybody can keep running as far. I mean, it was what they did, like you said, bro. It made sense with what they did. They went. I like the ostrich to the gimmick. Hey, Glenn, did you hear about this freaking Paul Ellering thing last night, bro? Because
they were chanting, the smart Mark crowd was chanting, "Who are you?" at Paul Ellering.
Hey, Glenn, can you do me a favor?
Kevin Owens even had a great tweet about that. He says that's why I'm so happy I don't have to wrestle in front of that crowd anymore.
Yeah,
you know.
Glenn, can you please educate these people that were chanting, "Who are you?" to Paul Ellering? Can you please educate them on Paul Ellering for a second?
Let me tell you. I'll tell you this. Probably one of in my opinion, my favorite ring music in the history of wrestling was Iron Man with the Road Warriors. Okay, because the crowd, I've been there in the Omni. Okay, when that music would play and they knew these two monsters were coming in the ring to kill somebody, it was like before Goldberg had that type of reaction when he came out. Bro, it was just like just an energy in the arena. You know, like people that were suspending disbelief and people that thought it was real couldn't wait to see these guys go in there and kill somebody. You know, and the song Iron Man playing, you know, and stuff. Ellering was kind of like, what was Ellering's job for them? Like their mouth. Didn't he kind of break them in and they signed a contract with them or something? He kind of
Glenn, did you ever meet him?
Never met him.
Oh, Glenn, the guy's on a genius level, you know. I mean,
really?
Oh my God, bro, you know how Mitchell was?
Yeah.
Very similar to Jim Mitchell. The guy's mind, bro, was forget about in a class of his own, bro. Unbelievable.
You know who else I thought is brilliant is I watched your first part of the Billy Corgan interview.
Yeah, very smart, bro.
What an unbelievably intelligent, like when I listen to a guy like that, and I listen to the discussion that you're having with him, I'm like, bro, how many people can you have this discussion with?
Right. And
it's like, you know, like I said, like I would love that interview to somehow, if you could get that thing to go viral and have, you know, I want Ed to watch it. I want Court Bauer to watch it. I want Alex Greenfield to watch it. I want the MLW. I want Conan to watch it. And I want to know that if they think what you guys are talking about has crossed their mind, like if that's what kind of like the same wavelength that they're thinking. You know, bro, if you're not thinking on that level right now about professional wrestling, you're just like it's like politics.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like you're watching. You're at a, you know what wrestling's like right now. The way I see people talk about it, it's like the fans are at a political rally. That's the level I see the discussions of professional wrestling around today. You know.
Let me break this down to you. Think about just how plain ridiculous this is. By the time I'm done with Billy's interview, he basically says, as politically correct as he can be, he basically says, listen, I go there, I give my ideas, I pitch my ideas, it's not my company. Right. But here's the thing, Glenn, listen to how ridiculous this is. So basically, you saw the interview with Billy Corgan. TNA has Billy Corgan. Obviously, Dixie Carter, that's where it all ends and it all stops. Obviously, they're not listening to Billy Corgan. And, you know, maybe here, maybe there. Glenn, let's break this down. Are they not listening because they're afraid if they do something different, they'll lose their 300,000 viewers?
I don't know, bro. I'll tell you what, TNA does look different to me, though. I mean, I haven't watched it in a while. It looks a lot different than like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It looks a lot different. Like I said, bro, you may have watched it periodically over time. I haven't watched it in forever. Okay, I watched it and I'm like, wow, they're doing some kind of like interesting looking things to me. You know, so maybe they are listening to Billy Corgan. Using some of the stuff that he likes, but I like just a lot of the stuff he said, bro. He just a guy like that just gets it.
Yeah.
Where's he?
No,
It's
no
like
doubt.
it's like we want to evolve wrestling, but we don't want to ignore the past. It's
Right.
like we're leaving. It's like you can't leave the past behind. You need to bring the past with you. And add things. It's like they're like basically trying to. The funniest thing is basically that when you speak of the evolution of wrestling, is the guys today think that that like just because there's some crappy looking stuff from back in the day, they think that's like what we did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But bro, let me tell you something. This is and I'll talk about the evolution all I want. I can discuss this with anybody ad nauseum because I think I'm right. Okay, and I know I'm right. Actually, like you can argue this with me, but if you married the athletic ability that these guys have and the acrobatic moves that these guys had with the mentality that the legends had, where basically, bro, every legend like Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Steve Austin, Bret Hart, bro, all those guys, when they went into the match and the things that made them great and made them matches incredible because they built their opponents is because they went in there and they gave. They wanted the other guy to look good, so they sold a lot for the other guy. When the other guy did something, they showed incredible pain, incredible facial expression on their incredible emotions on their faces to show agony. Okay, take that selling and marry it to the moves you're doing, and you have an incredible style of wrestling, bro. These guys don't even think about selling. They don't. It's like the selling of the moves don't even cross their mind. They just lay down. They just lay there for a while. Like, bro, I watched. Let me tell you something. This is real quick. Go back and watch this match. I'm telling all your viewers to watch this. And the reason why it shows you what incredible work is and what we got away from. And I put it up on Twitter. But watch Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, the double turn WrestleMania 13 match.
Mhm.
Okay, take what they did. Okay, where they were basically two grown men fighting each other, acting like they're beating each other up. Okay, and Steve Austin selling like a man that had losing blood. And think about that. If you try to tell a wrestler today, bro, I want you to sell like you're losing so much blood that you're going unconscious. Okay, just think about, like, who would you tell that to that you think could pull it off like Steve Austin did? Just marry that to the style today, and you've got what wrestling should be.
Glenn, you want to hear a great story, bro? You'll love and appreciate this, bro. You really, really will, because it's exactly what you're saying. When I had Shawn Michaels on the show, I was talking to him about his character, and I said to Shawn, I said, Shawn, this is what I loved about your character. I said, you would do all the childish, immature DX hijinks. Okay, the crotch shots, the posing naked with the magazine cover, the whole 9 yards. But then all of a sudden you're in a program with Taker, and Taker would come to the ring, and Shawn, you didn't run, you didn't tuck the tail, you got right in Taker's face and cut the promo, and people were at home saying, holy crap, like Shawn Michaels really believes he can beat The Undertaker. Maybe he can. You know what Shawn Michaels said to me, bro?
Well,
He goes, Vince, do you know why I was allowed to do that? And I said, no, Shawn, tell me. He said, I was allowed to do that to Taker because Taker knew the minute he got me in the ring, I was going to sell my ass off for him from bell to bell. He said, so Taker let me talk, because he knew the end result was I was going to 100% give him my body to destroy. He said, that's why it worked. You would never see that today, bro.
Bro, I want to tell, like, when I teach the class, when I teach my class, I go, guys, do this on a show. Go out on the next show you work on the indies and try to be the guy that sells better than the rest of the guys on the show, that sells more, that oversells, that sells everything the guy does to you. Just try that one time.
Yeah.
Just instead of thinking about your moves and what moves you're going to hit and memorizing them and sinners, bro. The funniest thing is like today is like you look in the locker rooms and it looks like ballroom dancing before the show.
Oh yeah,
They're all
absolutely.
everybody's dancing
they're all
around.
doing this, bro.
It literally looks like a dance floor and like I mean no lie, a ballroom dance floor with like 10, 15 guys all dancing around and stuff. That's what it looks like, okay?
Sure.
So that all they're thinking about is move to move to move to move to move. Bro, nobody's thinking, hey, give me a good punch right here. Let me sell it for a minute. Like you punch me in the nose. I'm going to sell like you hit me in the nose. I'm going to go out of the ring and get a towel like I'm bleeding, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just take – but that's where wrestling's gone. That's in their mind. That's the evolution of wrestling. Bro, let me tell you something. Your boy Conan said this the other day. I'm not going to bury Conan, by the way, but I will bury him for this. My epic burial of him is going to come shortly because the MLW guys. Did you know that I got voted and won the Stooge of the Year award at MLW?
Congratulations. Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah. You're good. That's great. You think that's great too, I think. But Conan the other day was when they were talking about the Will Ospreay Ricochet match. Bro, Conan actually he thinks that professional wrestling should be like, more action and less selling. Like truly, he says that's the style.
But that is the lucha style, bro.
Bro, and I just say, bro, if you think about that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You're not in front of a Mexican crowd where the people still think it's real. You know what I'm saying? You're in an American audience where there's 700 channels on the TV that you can surf. Yeah. So it's like, I thought that was surprising coming from him based on the amount of work he's done in the States, that he still would marry like things that like that the next time you have him on, they want to bring me on the show to give my acceptance speech for the Stooge of the Year award, and I don't know if I can but should I can I bury him?
No.
Am I allowed to?
No, because I want to talk about one more thing because you're over time like you always are on the show. But Jeff, I want to ask you one thing, bro, because again, I just want to point this out with the people with there are other ways to watch Raw. They're DVRing Raw. They're watching on their phone. Jeff, was there like a $600,000 decrease in viewers from the first hour to the third? I mean, 600,000 viewer. Was it something like that?
Yeah. The viewership this week started at 3.4 million for the first hour, went up to 3.5 million for the second hour. I believe that's where Cena was again, and we're seeing that. Whenever Cena's on, it goes up. But the third hour dropped to 2.9 million. So from the second hour to the third hour, yes, 600,000 people.
Okay, so in other words, if their theory is right, that social media, people watching on other things, so literally from the second to third hour, everybody turned off their television set, 600,000 people, and they watched the last hour of Raw on their phones.
And it's what I was talking about with the mid-card main events. Yeah, I mean, you look at the main event this week. AJ Styles is the only one you can consider a main event out of the 6 guys that were in it. Every week, these fans are.
Bro, can you even consider him a main event guy? They're putting him in the main event, but it's not like a homegrown main eventer. He's a TNA guy.
That's true. That's true.
He's a TNA guy. So it's like so I mean, they brought him in there, bro. That's the thing that they hot-shotted him because they convinced him. They convinced people like, bro. I was saying this. When I talked about when AJ came in. All right, and I tweeted like, why not let AJ go out there? You have a guy. You call himself the phenomenal AJ Styles, right? What if he went out there and did that move that he does, but he did in the first 2 minutes or first minute of the match and beat the guy, and was just like beating guys in 1 or 2 minutes because he has this unbelievable springboard flying move and he was hitting people with it and beating them. Imagine if AJ had the belt. And he was doing this angle with Cena right now. And he was the phenomenal AJ Styles that was beating guys in 1 and 2 minutes. Imagine where they would be right now because John Cena is getting ratings, but it's kind of like, John Cena's just getting the ratings. Like AJ, like the Bullet Club thing has not drawn, because and why would it? Because half the people know. Here's the funniest thing. Am I missing something? I've never heard a Bullet Club interview from Japan. Have you ever seen one before? Where the Bullet Club is giving an interview?
I might have seen.
I'm asking Jeff. I know you probably have seen. Jeff,
I don't get Access TV, so I've never seen New Japan.
That's what I'm saying. It's like so they keep talking about the people that echo chamber wrestling. we always talk about the problems, and I don't care what the booking is of the show. I look at the big picture, and here's the problem in the big picture. It's because Vince, we've talked about it ad nauseum. Even you and Billy Corgan have admitted wrestling is basically a niche audience. But the problem is the niche audience, the echo chamber in professional wrestling is the volume is turned up like to 10, as high as it can go. So every week, this small niche audience is making so much noise and talking about everything. It's like, bro, it's like going into the restaurant and the restaurant's packed and you can't hear yourself talk, but it's a small restaurant. But like when everybody's talking over each other, you get to, the local mom and pop store, every table's filled, people are waiting, standing at the doorstep, and everybody's yapping, and the girls are cackling like hens, like you like to talk about with your wife when her friends come, when her sisters come in town or whatever, So it's like there's just so much noise in the wrestling business today, but nobody's watching it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to like turn down the noise, which you can't do because all the noise is talking about the same stuff. The same, like I said, all these podcasts, everything is regurgitated stuff week in, week out. It's a giant echo chamber of a niche audience. And like until people start stepping outside the bubble, and more people step outside the bubble and let the niche audience start, continue this echo chamber, and the people that get it and have a clue don't get caught up in that echo chamber and step outside the bubble, outside the box, and start having conversations, maybe those voices, maybe that echo chamber will grow and get loud enough to where it'll start sounding loud enough for the people in the bubble to start listening.
Yeah.
But until that happens, like, when more conversations with guys like Billy Corgan need to take place. Billy Corgan needs to be making the rounds right now. He's speaking about stuff that nobody really – we talk about this weekly.
Yeah.
But nobody else. Billy Corgan. When was the last time Billy Corgan did an interview?
Bro,
with you. You know what I'm saying? Billy Corgan needs to get out there. Because that guy's freaking brilliant.
Bro, you got to be a big star to interview Billy Corgan. He's just not going to do interviews with anybody. Let's not get crazy.
No. But I'm saying, he'll go with Meltzer Keller, the MLW guy. That I don't understand why they wouldn't want him on.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant guy.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, he is. All right, listen, Glenn Gilbernetti, I'm going to let you go.
It's Gilberti. Respect to what she's my mother, will you please?
All right, well, listen, Glenn Gilbernetti.
I want you to apologize for mistreating my mother, too.
Hey, you know what? I got to thank you, too, bro. I got to thank you. Because remember last week, bro, you gave everybody that great tip on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I told everybody run to the bookie and bet against Glenn and bet on Golden State. You won everybody a lot of money last week. Thank you. I want to thank you for that.
The show aired after the game, Vince. Okay, so don't try to try to discredit my good name again.
Right.
Nobody won a dime. So you're lying again.
All right, the great game.
You're lying.
All right,
that's
the great Glenn
lying, Vince.
And I want you to know, too, I'm going to give you a heads up. I already have the run-in schedule for next week. So
that's great. I'll bury him, too.
All right, take care, Glenn. Be safe traveling.
All right.
Well, listen, Jeff, as always, thank you for another great show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.